Southern California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite a show, as we have a lot to get into in the world of Southern California sports, such as Long Beach State men's basketball. After making the decision to fire head coach Dan Monson at the end of the season, they win the Big West Conference Tournament. What? Now the Beach will be dancing for the first time since 2012 as they draw Arizona. Can they beat the Wildcats? Also, CBU Women's Hoops wins the WAC Tournament, and they're going dancing for the first time in program history. How big is that for the Lancers, and who did they draw? Also, UC Irvine women's basketball wound up winning the Big West Conference Tournament, taking down UC Davis in big-time fashion. Who did the Anteaters draw? Also, the Lakers have been iffy as always, but they actually did just win against the Atlanta Hawks. Unfortunately for the Clippers, they have been a little bit on the struggle bus, but hey, there's still plenty of season to go, and they're still in a good position going forward. Also, the Galaxy tie again against St. Louis City SC, and LAFC unfortunately lost to Minnesota. Can those two get back on track and get back into the win column? Also, the Dodgers kicked off the regular season with a 5-2 win over the Padres in the wee hours of the morning. If you waited for that matchup, kudos to you. All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, Wednesday morning, Wednesday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 173 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on Spreaker. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, formerly known as Twitter, TikTok, and on Instagram at IE Sports Radio. We also have a Facebook page. All you just have to do is like us, and then that's how you're able to follow us after you've typed in the words IE Sports and then radio in the search bar. We also have a website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our Hall of Fame, our Fans of the Month, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, our community forum, and our merchandise shop. For the last 9 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports stations around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsors, Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Plant Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, the single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, it's low in sugar and high in protein. This is some of the best jerky you can get your hands on, and all you have to do is visit plantjerky.net and place your order. In addition, prices are slashed, and if you buy $50 or more of an order, you'll get the shipping sent to you for free. Once again, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Plant Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Our second sponsor is Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations, and you're looking for that extra special touch. Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or friend, and you want to add their smile when they receive it. If that's the case, then Seal the Deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts is just for you. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. Follow them on Instagram at @SealTheDeal_wax stamps. And you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SoCal Show IESR. And you can follow me, Teran Rodriguez, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Teran Rodriguez1. Let's begin, as Ralph Clace is the one that's saying, let's go. Good afternoon, Teran. Have a great commercial-free show. Yes. This show will be commercial-free. We're not going to be stopping for anything, just because, if you're wondering why I'm going live on Wednesday and not Friday, well, Friday, unfortunately, I have to work, and then after that, I have to head down to Golden West College for a junior college men's volleyball match. And then Thursday, I'll be unable to do it because I might have a Zoom interview with some Penn State men's volleyball players, and I was thinking about doing it at 8 p.m. But unfortunately, that's Law and Order night. But I digress. Anyway, so jumping first and foremost to some NCAA men's basketball. So Long Beach State, well, I should also mention that San Diego State also made it to the finals of their conference tournament. Unfortunately, they wound up losing to New Mexico, which is unfortunately pain. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, San Diego State, for losing to New Mexico. But it is what it is, and sadly, they just couldn't get the job done. They did make the NCAA tournament, and I'll get to their matchup later. But Long Beach State, alright, so Long Beach State, if you all remember, they took on UC Irvine in the semifinals of the Big West Conference Tournament semifinals. It said semifinals of the Big West Conference Tournament semifinals. Repetitive. Anyway, Long Beach State took down UC Irvine 83-79, and if you remember, UC Irvine was actually the top seed of the tournament, and they won the regular season of the Big West Conference. They won the regular season championship of the Big West Conference, and Long Beach State actually led throughout most of this game. They actually led by 9 at halftime, and they eventually held on as Abubakar Traore led the way with 20 points, which was big for Long Beach State. Marcus Sohonis added 15 points. AJ George added 11 points. And Abubakar's brother, Lassina, added 9 points to go along with 10 boards. Jadon Jones added 15 points. And then also Amari Stroud added 11 points off the bench for Long Beach State. UC Irvine had almost all of its starters in double digits in terms of points, as Justin Hahn led the way with 19 points. Pierre Cockrell led the way. Pierre Cockrell also had 18 points. Bent Lukin and Devin Tillis both added 10 points in their starting lineup, and Andre Henry added 9 points. So, unfortunately, it was not enough for UC Irvine, but they did get an invitational to the NIT, where, unfortunately, I guess I should get this out of the way, they lost to Utah in the first round, 84-75. That Utah team is rather interesting just because they're so good at home, but they're crap on the road. This makes me wish that UC Irvine played at the Brent Event Center, but unfortunately, it was played in Salt Lake City, which is basically Utah's domain. So, Long Beach State made it to the final of the Big West Conference Tournament, where they took on UC Davis. And this was kind of one of those iffy matchups, just because UC Davis also beat Hawaii, which I think is a big deal if you ask me. Now, UC Davis most recently beat Long Beach State by 10 in the last regular season matchup between these two teams. But also Long Beach State beat UC Davis in the first meeting. So this was basically the rubber match between the Beach and the Aggies. And in the end, Long Beach State was able to pull out the win. They actually rallied from a 5-point halftime deficit. And despite Ty Johnson of UC Davis tallying up 30 points, Long Beach State beat UC Davis 74-70, and they were able to make it to the NCAA tournament, as Lassina Traore had 25 points to go along with 9 boards. Marcus Sohonis also had 25 points. Those are the only 2 double-digit guys for Long Beach State. But it was big time for Long Beach, as Abubakar Traore had 13 rebounds to go along with 7 points and 6 assists. But Long Beach State, all that matters is that they have made it to the NCAA tournament, and it's huge because Long Beach State is now announced last week that they were going to fire Dan Monson after 17 seasons. I forgot how many years he coached at Long Beach State. But unfortunately, he got his pink slip, and now he's coaching out the rest of the season. And then after that, no more Dan Monson. But now this makes me wonder: should Long Beach State really reevaluate themselves and say, you know what, Dan, we're not going to fire you. We're going to keep you on here just because you managed to win the Big West Conference tournament and whatnot. And let's say they actually upset Arizona. Let's say Arizona loses in the first round again, just like they did last year to Princeton. Funny enough that those two are 15 seeds. Well, Long Beach State's a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament, but I digress. So Long Beach State, let's say they win. Does Dan Monson get reconsideration and reevaluation to the point where he should be brought back? I'm thinking maybe, because it's never easy to beat Arizona, and Arizona is such a blue-collar program. They're not flashy like UCLA in the Pac-12 or UConn or anyone of that sort that's won like multiple NCAA championships. But I will say, maybe Long Beach State jumped the gun. I feel Long Beach State jumped the gun with this firing. I think they should have waited till at the end of the season to evaluate Dan Monson and say, hey, you get one more chance next season, and if you don't make it to the NCAA tournament, you're gone. I really think that Long Beach State should have waited to fire Dan Monson until the true end of the season. I think the athletics department at Long Beach State, and this is no knock on Long Beach State, I think they just made a mistake on jumping the gun too early, in my opinion. But wherever Dan Monson goes, I think he'll be able to turn that program around just like he did with Gonzaga before he came to Long Beach State. So you have that going for them. Or for whoever lands Dan Monson. So, like I said, they play Arizona on Thursday at 11 a.m. That's going to be such a tricky matchup just because Arizona, even though they lost in the semifinals of the Pac-12 tournament, they're such a tough team, and they've got talent all across the board. So Long Beach State is going to need they're going to need to pull off a Cinderella story. And you know what would be funny is if for some weird reason Long Beach State wins the national championship and then Dan Monson basically doesn't get paid for that. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But as for San Diego State, they take on UAB this Friday at 10:45 a.m., and that's going to be an interesting matchup. Now, UAB is not a bad team by any means. They actually wound up winning the American Athletic Conference this past Sunday, but San Diego State, obviously losing to New Mexico sucks, especially since they just thumped Utah State in the semifinals, 86-70. But they lost to New Mexico, 68-61. And the sad part is that it didn't look like San Diego State was ultimately in this matchup. But it is what it is, and San Diego State still made the NCAA tournament. So I think San Diego State can. I have San Diego State going no farther than the Sweet 16 because I think they'll get past UAB, and then I imagine they'll play Auburn in the round of 32. They'll get past that. And then once they reach the Sweet 16, they'll take on the number one overall seed, let alone the number one seed in their region, UConn. And that's a rematch of last year's NCAA Tournament championship, which I think everyone would laugh if UConn wound up losing to San Diego State. I think that'd be a pretty darn good matchup. But San Diego State has to get to the Sweet 16 first, and so does UConn. But all in all, for San Diego State, at least they made the NCAA tournament. I can't say the same for UCLA or USC or the other Big West Conference teams that didn't make from SoCal that didn't make the NCAA tournament, except for maybe UC Irvine. I think that loss to Long Beach State was just so unfortunate for Irvine, and it just goes to show it's so tough to beat a team 3 times in one season. And UC Irvine was the prime example of that. And then also the West Coast Conference teams didn't make the NCAA tournament, and CBU men's hoops sadly didn't make the NCAA tournament. But I digress in that regard. So it's just Long Beach State and San Diego State representing SoCal in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. All right, but that's that for some NCAA men's basketball. Jumping to some NCAA women's basketball. So as I mentioned this past in the intro, CBU women's hoops, or California Bapist, wound up winning the WAC tournament. So it was actually quite the crazy Tournament. Well, in the semifinals, they managed to stomp all over UT Arlington 83-67. If you recall, they were still going on while I was on the air. So CBU had the honor of playing in the WAC Tournament Championship as they took on Stephen F. Austin. And CBU would actually they had to basically grind it out as it was a nail biter. They were actually down by they were down by 8 at halftime, which kind of had to be worried. I was thinking to myself, oh no, this can't be happening. As they trailed by as many as 11, but CBU really shined in the second half. It got to the point where I think they went a whole 3 quarters without a 3-pointer. But the fact that they were still in the matchup is still quite amazing, if you ask me. Eventually, CBU wound up winning by 75-74. Chloe Webb led CBU with 24 points, as she was named the tournament's most outstanding player. And that was big time right there. They also got 22 points from Anaya Ta'ua, and they also got 10 points from Kinsley Barrington. Now, CBU did make it to the NCAA Tournament for the first time in program history, and they'll be playing on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday of all places. Go figure. As CBU will actually be pretty close, as they're actually heading to Los Angeles to take on UCLA. Yeah, UCLA, go figure. They actually drew the 2 seed. They're a 2 seed in their side of the bracket as they host CBU in the first round. And I'm officially torn for that matchup. Like, come on. I am so heartbroken that CBU and UCLA have to face each other. Like, why couldn't CBU draw a higher seed? Like, 15 seed? And then UC Irvine, which won the Big West Conference, they were a 13 seed, and they play Gonzaga. Like, what the heck? Why does CBU get such a lower draw? That's something I'd have to ask Daryl Trujillo. By the way, amazing job by Daryl Trujillo and his WAC women's basketball coverage on X, formerly known as Twitter. Great stuff from Daryl, a former SoCal Supreme Sports Show guest. I imagine I'll maybe have him on as a guest when the Lady Lancers season does come to an end. But I will just say, it's a great season for CBU regardless. They made the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history. And remember, they won I'm already blanking on the tournament name. I think it was the Women's Basketball Invitational, or the WIT or WBIT. I don't know. Regardless, they won some sort of postseason tournament last year, and now they are in the actual NCAA tournament this season. So if you remember from 2 weeks ago, I had the NCAA women's hierarchy in women's basketball. So I'd have to put for this year, I'd have to put USC at 1, UCLA at 2, CBU at 3, and UC Irvine at 4. Now, number 5, if I had to pick number 5, I'd probably say Long Beach State, because they made it all the way to the Big West Conference Tournament semifinals, even though they had one player out for the year who was one of their key players, and then they just had a whole seasons of unknowns. But they made it all the way to the semifinals. I'd probably put them at 5, and they also lost to CBU, which is no shame in losing to. I just don't think... I'd put San Diego State at maybe 5, if not a close 6, but Long Beach State making the Big West Conference Tournament semifinals is still pretty impressive, especially when they pulled an upset against UC Riverside. So I have to factor that in too. But those 4 schools that I mentioned, USC, UCLA, CBU, and UC Irvine, they all made the NCAA tournament. Those are my 4 hierarchy teams in women's basketball in Southern California for this season. So, no matter who wins or who loses between CBU and UCLA, I imagine it's going to be UCLA. I'm going to feel heartbroken. Why did the committee have to do that to poor CBU? Anyway, so good luck to both teams. Hopefully they have fun. USC is the number 3 overall seed, and they drew the number 1 seed in their side of the region, as they will be hosting Texas A&M Corpus Christi. So, yeah. The whole side of the region goes through them. And I think it's going to be a fascinating matchup. I have USC in the Final Four. Yeah, call me biased, I know. Unfortunately, I kind of have them losing to Iowa just because can Juju Watkins really carry USC to the national championship. They go as far as Juju goes, and maybe Rhea Marshall and Mackenzie Forbes as well. Like, USC just can't be a one-trick pony with Juju Watkins basically having to carry the team, especially since she's only a freshman. But honestly, I hope USC can win an NCAA tournament match. I definitely think that it's possible. They play on Saturday at 1:30. I think it's going to be a fun matchup between Texas A&M Corpus Christi. I imagine USC is going to win. And then for UC Irvine, they head down to Spokane? Yeah, Spokane to take on Gonzaga, which is hosting that regional, which, well, that's fun. UC Irvine also draws another road matchup. So, well, I can't really blame UC Irvine for getting this draw, but I'm surprised CBU is not higher than a 13 seed. I mean, I don't know what the committee looks at in terms of UC Irvine as opposed to CBU. CBU only has 3 losses, and 2 of them were in overtime. The only other loss was to Louisiana Tech, which was not a bad loss by most team standards, or most people's standards. But UC Irvine, they draw Gonzaga in the first round. Now, I hope UC Irvine does pull off the win, but Gonzaga is a whopping 30-3. 30-3. And they even went a perfect 16-0 in West Coast Conference play. They unfortunately lost off of a buzzer beater to Portland in the West Coast Conference tournament. Would rather not talk about the West Coast Conference, in my opinion. But for Gonzaga, it's going to be a tough matchup for UC Irvine. But the fact that the Anteaters are back in the NCAA tournament is quite amazing, especially after last year where they lost in heartbreaking fashion in the semifinals of the Big West Conference tournament. And then, unfortunately, we saw Hawaii make it to the Big West Conference, or to the Big West Conference tournament finals, and then they wound up making it to the first round of the NCAA tournament. But in my opinion, I really want to see UC Irvine pull the upset, but all signs are pointing to Gonzaga winning this matchup. But we'll see what happens with this matchup. Hopefully, UC Irvine does pull off an upset. I think that would be quite amazing. All right, but that is that for all the NCAA women's basketball teams. We have 4 representing Southern California. USC obviously being the top seed in their region and being the number 3 seed overall, like I called it. And then you also have UCLA, which I had a feeling they'd make the tournament. Like, there's no way they missed the tournament with that amazing season that they had. And then UC Irvine and CBU women's hoops winning their respective conference tournament. That was amazing right there. So hats off to those 4 schools, and I hope they represent SoCal well. But I will say, regardless of what happens with CBU and UC Irvine, if they pull the upset or not, they've had amazing seasons, and I really, 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 really hate that CBU and UCLA have to face one another. It sucks, dude. Anyway, that's that for some NCAA women's basketball. I've rambled on too much. I only have an hour before John Felipe goes live. All right, so let's jump on over to some MLB. So, opening day actually happened today, this early in the morning. And I'm going to mispronounce this series, but it was the Seoul series as the Dodgers and Padres faced off against one another, which they took on one another at the Gocheok Sky Dome. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but I will say the Dodgers wound up winning 5-2. Shohei Ohtani managed to steal a base, which I think is pretty good. And then Shohei Ohtani had an RBI single, and yeah, that's awesome for the Dodgers. Good job, and I can't believe I forgot to tune into this. I got to see highlights, I got to see the replay, but I didn't see it live. And when you don't see it live, it just doesn't have the same feeling just because you know what happens. Because more often than not, I'm checking Twitter when getting out of bed. But I wish I could have woken up early, but it is what it is. It's a 3 a.m. game if you're on the West Coast, and a 6 a.m. game if you're on the East Coast. So the East Coasters actually have the deferring of you actually have it better than the West Coasters. But I digress. But a good job to the Dodgers on pulling off the win. The Dodgers actually trailed 1-0 and 2-0 until the 8th inning, where they finally came to life and they were able to basically take the lead and never look back. The 8th inning is where they just really shined. So good job to the Dodgers, as the two teams are back at it Thursday in the Seoul series at 3 a.m. Oh boy, 3 a.m. I don't know if I could do that, especially since I have work the following day. Yes, your boy is back working at the grocery store, but it is what it is. And then after the Seoul series, the Dodgers return home for a 3-game series. Now, this 3-game series is so weird. Sunday and Monday, they are hosting the Angels, and then Tuesday, they are at the Angels. That's kind of weird just because I know they're both in the same city and the same region, but isn't the whole thing supposed to be at one site? Anyway, yeah, the Dodgers and Angels are facing each other in a 3-game series on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday this upcoming. So we'll see what happens, and it's going to be a nice little homecoming on next Tuesday for Shohei Ohtani. So currently right now, the Dodgers are in first place in the whole entire MLB, while San Diego is sadly in last place. Poor little Padres. But hey, the sun will shine for them. It's only one game. They still have a chance to go 181-0, which it's a possibility, but the Padres are back in action, like I mentioned, tomorrow. They play the Dodgers, as the Dodgers will be the designated home team. Then Monday and Tuesday, they host the Seattle Mariners. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Padres will be hosting the San Francisco Giants, which the Giants just recently signed Blake Snell, which is unacceptable if you ask me. Gosh dang it. But it is what it is. I mean, the MLB is a business just like all the other leagues. And then as for the Angels, they don't kick off any action. Oh, no, they do kick off. Is this right? They kick off action today at 1:10 p.m. against the Giants, and then afterward they take on the Royals. Is this actually a game? Oh, no, this is still in spring training. All right, this is really interesting if you ask me. So the Angels are still in spring training while everyone else isn't, I guess. So the Angels officially kick off the season not this Friday, but they don't kick off the season until okay. Yeah, they don't kick the matchups that I mentioned between the Dodgers and the Angels. They're spring training games. They kick off the season next Thursday when they play at Baltimore. All right, this is kind of weird. So the Dodgers and Padres kicked off the season, but everyone else probably isn't because they're still in spring training. MLB, why do you got to do this to us? It makes baseball even more confusing. Anyway, that's going to do it for the MLB portion of the show. I guess I should have just talked about only the Padres and the Dodgers, but I digress. So Larry B is in the chat room, and he actually says, "Rise and shine, victory for the Dodgers." Well, that's great, but he actually had some choice things to say on his little trip to the Galaxy game this past Saturday against St. Louis City SC. Yes, I actually pronounced it correctly without having to look it up. So he's never been a blame it on the refs guy, but the ref on Saturday was atrocious. And Larry B says, St. Louis's third and final goal was a freaking handball, and he counted it. Oh, God. Wait, they have VAR. Why don't you mean to tell me VAR did not catch that? Then what's the point of having VAR and saying, oh, that's not a goal? Well, I think we just found our first dumb of the week, and this is breaking news to me because, well, for starters, that's bologna sausage if you ask me. Like, how do you mess that up, dude? Like, come on now. If it's a clear handball, then that should nowhere be a goal. You're only allowed to use your feet and any other body part to freaking score goals. But you mean to tell me that there was a handball that was clear and blatant with VAR? You're telling me that VAR couldn't pick that up? It makes zero sense. Like, Then let's get rid of VAR and let's get rid of the officials and just have robot officials. I'm sorry, but that's ridiculous, dude. How does that goal count after a handball? Just, again, make it make sense for me. It just makes me wonder why this is a thing. And God, I'm also not going to be a blame the refs guy, but how do you miss that, dude? It's so easy to find that. Like, if you see the ball hitting the hand, it is a handball. It just does not make any sense. Like, just please help me, dude. Please help me, anybody, somebody. All right, but yeah, as Larry B mentioned, that third and final goal was actually the goal that clinched it for clinched a tie for St. Louis City SC, which I think is complete baloney sausage, and it's unfortunate because that could be the difference between making the playoffs and missing the playoffs, and sadly, the Galaxy have to settle for a tie, and yeah, to this official to all the officials who counted the goal, even though there was a handball, I gotta give you Dumb of the Week. I'm sorry, but how could you miss a handball call like that? It just makes zero sense. Make it make sense, ladies and gentlemen. Make it make sense. Please help me. But to the official that missed the goal, even after using VAR, if you use VAR at all, you're Dumb of the Week. Larry B, thank you for basically informing this to me. And to the official, you're Dumb of the Week.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And I was going to give Dumb of the Week to the Galaxy, but since they didn't lose, and Larry B informed me of this whole handball thing, I'll spare the Galaxy of giving them Dumb of the Week. And Larry B says it was a great game, but that was very irritating that the Galaxy got hardly any calls, and that the official or the referee allowed the handball for a goal. Amazing. What's the point of VAR? Regardless, the Galaxy played well, and we're looking forward to this season. And Larry B and Cecilia are looking forward to this season. So, as for that goal, that final goal that the Galaxy unfortunately lost by, that goal came in the 88th minute. So that goal actually gave St. Louis a 3-2 lead, and thankfully Maya Yoshida. Maya Yoshida was able to score 5 minutes into stoppage time, and thank goodness that the Galaxy were able to pull off the win. And that just sucks that the Galaxy just did not get the calls. And apparently St. Louis, that was an own goal from the Galaxy, but still, what the heck, dude? But the Galaxy, I guess it's better than the Galaxy losing, but I will also say Martin Caceres got a red card in 9 minutes into stoppage time. That's just sucky, dude. So to add insult to injury of no calls being for the Galaxy and St. Louis getting every call, basically the Galaxy got a red card. How fun. Anyway, so the Galaxy are back in action this Saturday when they hit the road to Patrick Mahomes land to take on Sporting KC. So currently right now for the Galaxy, they are in 4th place, which is pretty good. I mean, obviously it's not glamorous, and they only have 1 win on the season, but still pretty solid. Well, they're tied with St. Louis for a 4th place, even though, in my opinion, St. Louis should have lost that one, but anyway, as for LAFC, they had a rough one on Saturday as they lost to Minnesota 2-0. It's the 3rd straight game where they failed to score squat diddly, as Robin Lod and Bongo Kuhile Hlongwane scored for Minnesota. Oh my god, those are some tough names to pronounce. Like, good Lord have mercy. Anyway, so LAFC failed to score anything, and that's the third straight match that they have not scored, as LAFC is back in action this Saturday when they host Nashville at BMO Stadium. Yes, I actually learned this. It's pronounced BMO, not BMO. But I digress in that regard. Hopefully for LAFC's sake, they can continue to keep it going, as LAFC is actually in 10th place. Yeah. Am I sensing a MLS Cup championship hangover? We'll see. Alright, but that's that for some MLS action. So jumping over to some NWSL action. So regarding San Diego, which played on Friday, they actually played in the NWSL Challenge Cup, and they beat New Jersey/New York, or Gotham, whatever they like to be called. They beat them 1-0. So good start to the season for San Diego Wave FC. Unfortunately, that match does not count because it's a tournament game. It's a Challenge Cup game. What will count is this Saturday's matchup when San Diego hosts the Kansas City Current. Now, unfortunately for Angel City FC, they had the dishonor of losing to Bay FC 1-0. So, Bay FC is an expansion team in the NWSL from North Carolina, and unfortunately for Angel City, they lost to Bay FC, which makes me sad. But it is what it is, and hopefully Angel City has their last bad game of the season, as this Friday they play on Prime Video when they hit the road to the land of Disney World to take on Orlando. Yeah, I called it that. Fight me. So, a good start for San Diego, even though their game doesn't count toward the regular season, but it's still early in the NWSL season, so we're not going to hit the panic button. At least not yet. Alright, but that's that for the NWSL portion of the show. Jumping to the NBA, so I think this is going to be a little bit brief just because I'm only going to be recapping Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So the Lakers this past Saturday, they lost to the Golden State Warriors 128-121 at home. That's a crucial loss just because the Warriors are on the Lakers' coattails in terms of the play-in game standings. But what was worse is that the Lakers star, Anthony Davis, got hit in the eye and he had a cornea injury where it was swollen shut. And it's like, God, Anthony Davis just seems to be hurt all over the place. Whether it's his legs, his arms, his body, his face, like, the dude can't catch a break. What do we got to do, like, bubble wrap the dude? Fortunately for the Lakers, he did come back, and the Lakers took down the Atlanta Hawks 136-105. Now, that is a convincing win right there. That is a convincing win. Anthony Davis had 22 points and 15 boards, but D'Angelo Russell was the one that led the way with 27 points and 10 assists. LeBron James also had 25 points and 10 assists. D'Angelo Russell also tied the single-season Lakers three-point record. So good job to D'Angelo Russell as he tied Nick Van Exel's record, which was 183. And one more three-pointer, and D'Angelo Russell has the Lakers' single-season record for three-pointers made, which I think is pretty good. The fact that D'Angelo Russell has a whole new outlook, and he's not like a little childish guy who snitched on Nick Young or Swaggy P. Sorry to bring that up, but at least D'Angelo Russell has more maturity, and I think he could be earning himself a long-term deal with the Lakers, but we'll see. So the Lakers are not back in action until Friday, until they host the Philadelphia 76ers. And it gives Lakers some time to lick their wounds, heal up, and make sure that their minds are right. And then Sunday, the Lakers host the Pacers before next Tuesday, they hit the road to the land of the Chiefs to take on Milwaukee. And then next Wednesday, they head to the Music State, Tennessee, to take on the Memphis Grizzlies. And then next Friday, the Lakers head to Finger-Lickin' Indiana to take on the Indiana Pacers. So currently where the Lakers stand, they are in 9th place. They're still they're actually 3 games back of the number 6 spot. And 3 games back of the number 6 spot, occupied by Sacramento. They're 2.5 games back of Phoenix, which, I mean, between Sacramento, Dallas, Phoenix, and the Lakers, and maybe the Warriors, those teams could also vie for the 6th spot. Now, 5 through 1 pretty much seems to be all but guaranteed unless a team goes on a very cold streak, as the Clippers, they unfortunately had themselves a rough few days this past weekend, as on Friday they lost to the New Orleans Pelicans 112-104, and then on Sunday they got thumped by the Hawks 110-93. Now, the Clippers just seem to have an identity crisis, as the Hawks were coming in on a 3-game losing streak, which I don't understand how the Clippers lose that one. Fortunately for the Clippers, they as well as the Thunder, Nuggets, Timberwolves, and Pelicans, they're pretty much so far ahead of the 6th seed, even though it's by like 3 games or so. Or in Minnesota, Denver, and Oklahoma City's case, 7 through 8 games ahead of Sacramento and everyone else vying for playoff contention. But the Clippers are still 4th in the Western Conference, which is good, but I feel they're starting to lose their way a bit, as they've lost 2 in a row, and they shouldn't have. Losing to the Pelicans is one thing, because at least they fought hard, and the Pelicans are a good team. I hate to say that. They still lost the Anthony Davis trade, by the way. But losing to the Hawks, God, without Trae Young, that's pretty sucky if you ask me, Clippers. Anyway, the Clippers are back in action tonight when they head down to Portland to take on the Trailblazers. And then Friday, they take on the Trailblazers again. And then Sunday, they host the Philadelphia 76ers. And then Monday, they host the Indiana Pacers. And then next Wednesday, they head down to the city of brotherly love to take on the Philadelphia 76ers. That'll be on ESPN, by the way. And then Friday, they get a little bit of a tricky matchup. They head down to the land of Disney World to take on the Orlando Magic, which, again, I think that's going to be a very tricky matchup. But the Clippers, they've got a big... Okay, not counting the Trailblazers, they got themselves quite a big week ahead of them. So after that, next week is going to be a huge week for the Clippers starting on Sunday, because they're facing some pretty good competition, if you ask me. All right, but that's that for the NBA portion of the show. Jumping over to the NHL portion of the show, let's start with the Kings, just because, well, we don't really want to go into the Ducks just yet. But the Kings have had their ups and downs. This past Tuesday, they beat the Blackhawks 6-2, but last Saturday they lost to the Dallas Stars 4-1. And then on Friday, they stomped on the Chicago Blackhawks 5-0, which I think is pretty good. As the Kings, the more wins the Kings can get, the more it'll solidify them for finishing in the top 4 of the Pacific Division. The Kings are 2 games ahead of the Vegas Golden Knights after their win over Chicago, which I definitely think is a good thing, as the Kings are back in action tonight when they host the Minnesota Wild. Saturday they host the Tampa Bay Lightning. Monday they have their Canada series, as Monday they head to Vancouver to take on the Canucks. And the next Thursday, they head to Edmonton to take on the Oilers. And then next Saturday, they head to Calgary to take on the Flames. So that's that for the Kings. As for the Ducks, who are unfortunately eliminated from playoff contention, it's been a rough few days for the Ducks. Yesterday, being Tuesday, they lost to the Minnesota Wild 4-0 after it was 0-0 in the first period. The Ducks, unfortunately, saw the wheels fall off in the second period. And then Sunday, they lost to the St. Louis Blues 4-2. And then last Friday, they lost to the Winnipeg Jets 6-0. So that road trip really threw the Ducks for a loop, as they also lost, I think, they didn't even win one game on their road trip. And then talk about a bad welcome home present, they lost to the Wild. Yay. So the Ducks have nothing to play for except for glory and not finishing at the bottom of the NHL league, which, God, that'd be depressing. That'd be the second straight season that they finished dead last in the entire league. So this Thursday or tomorrow, the Blackhawks will head down to Anaheim to take on the Ducks. Then the Ducks host the Lightning. Then next Tuesday and Thursday, the Ducks head down to the city that never gets enough rain, in my opinion. Sarcasm. They take on the Seattle Kraken on Tuesday and Thursday of next week, and then next Saturday they head down to Edmonton to take on the Oilers for their Canada series. But again, the Ducks are just basically playing for starting positions and whatnot, so it's just bad, dude. The Ducks, I thought the Ducks were improving until, oh wait, we realized they're the Ducks, and they still stink, and they're still the third worst team in the league. All right, but that's that for the Ducks portion of the show, and that's that for the NHL portion of the show. I think I've touched upon anything. I don't think there was any new news regarding. Well, there was new news regarding the Chargers. The Chargers did actually sign somebody. The Los Angeles Chargers. Got to talk a little about Los Angeles Chargers. But the Chargers did sign Denzel Perryman back. So, yeah, notice the word back. So, Denzel Perryman was part of the original San Diego Chargers, and then he moved on to, Raiders! Chris Berman voice. And then he moved on to the Atlanta Falcons, and then he just bounced around the league. But now the Chargers are reunited with Denzel Perryman, and I think that's awesome that he's back with the Chargers. I think that's really cool. Unfortunately, the Chargers did say goodbye to Michael Davis, who I thought was a pretty underrated corner, if you ask me. I think Michael Davis, or as his nickname states, Vato. His name was actually Vato, but Michael Davis, unfortunately, is gonzo, as I think he signed with the Titans or the Commanders. Not entirely sure, but he's gone. Anyway, the Chargers also signed center Bradley Bozeman from the Carolina Panthers. Now, the Chargers have been in search of a center, and I think this is a good signing. Just a one-year deal, yes, but he did start at center for the Carolina Panthers, as the Chargers have now found their new center after Corey Linsley retired medically. So that's good for the Chargers finding their center, and now it makes me wonder if the Chargers will still draft linemen in the first round. I don't think they'll go linemen. I think they either trade the 5th overall pick, which if they do, I hope for their sake they're able to get a good haul out of it. But in my opinion, I still would select either Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver, or Brock Bowers, though they've signed quite a number of tight ends, like Hayden Hurst from the Atlanta Falcons / Carolina Panthers, and then they also signed Will Dissly from the Seahawks. So, in my opinion, I think it's looking like Malik Neighbors, if not, what's his face? Brock Bowers. I don't know if they'll go lineman again, especially if if the lineman ain't starting, but we'll see. But also the Chargers signed linebacker Troy Dye, who, yeah, I think that's a solid one. He played linebacker, and I think it's a solid signing. I wouldn't say it's $1 million signing, and also the Chargers re-signed Easton Stick, that he's a backup. And then they also signed defensive tackle Puna Ford, which isn't bad. He came from the Buffalo Bills, and he was a defensive tackle, so that kind of shores up some of the defense. So, yay! I'm still heartbroken the Chargers traded Keenan Allen away for a fourth rounder. Blech. Like, I really wish he could. I really wish Keenan Allen could have been a Charger for life, but unfortunately, he didn't want to restructure his contract, and the Chargers just dealt him. But it is what it is, unfortunately. And let's jump to some Rams news, and here are some experts that the Rams are projected to face. So from Trevor Sikkema, an NFL draft analyst, he has the Rams drafting inside defensive lineman from Illinois, Jerzon Newton. Okay, that's an interesting choice. And then they also have Ryan Wilson, another NFL draft writer. He has the Rams also drafting Newton, and then another NFL draft writer, Connor Rogers, he has them drafting Newton. And then this one actually gets it. This writer gets it. NFL editor Doug Farrar, he has the Rams drafting a cornerback, which I think is definitely essential. He has him drafting Teran Arnold from Alabama, which you definitely want to get a nice little corner. I think the Rams are in desperate need of a corner, if not another edge rusher. Like, it's still so tough to replace Aaron Donald, but maybe they'll draft edge rusher, but I think corner is still kind of in their market. And then also, after I went off the air, the Rams also signed a backup quarterback to a 1-year deal, and that was Jimmy Garoppolo. So I find this signing really funny. So they get the guy who tortured them for years back when he played for the Niners, and they only beat once, and now he comes in as a backup to Matthew Stafford. So I guess if you can't win with the Niners or the Raiders, come to the Rams. I think it's a solid backup quarterback signing. It certainly beats Carson Wentz, that's for sure. But yeah, welcome to LA, Jimmy Garoppolo. Here's hoping, in case Matthew Stafford gets hurt, heaven forbid, you can basically take the reins. But yeah, that's all I've got. That's all I got for the Rams, unfortunately. And also, the Rams lost out on Jonah Williams, as the Vikings have signed Jonah Williams, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. The NFL is a business. And the Seahawks also signed Tremaine Antrim from the offensive line. So now the Rams will still need to shore up their offensive line, which is unfortunate. And the Rams officially signed their new defensive back, Cameron Curl, from the Washington Commanders. So that's pretty much going to round up the Rams news right there. And I think we've basically touched upon everything. As we all know, it's Draft Combine week, but I won't get too much into that. Or not Draft Combine week, Draft Prospect week, or anything of that sort. Regardless, the NFL Draft is vastly approaching. So now we got to get on into Dum Dum of the Week. So Dum Dum of the Week is an award I like to give out to which no one is safe from. I already gave it out to the official that missed the handball call, but I have another one to give out as, oh man. So before I went live, I actually saw this little interview with Dan Monson, and this interview was funny. Dan Monson had this nice little interview, and here it is.
You guys see the Seinfeld?
Oh, okay. So here's this little funny clip from Dan Monson. It's only a 7-second clip, but this is from Dan Monson.
It's like you guys see the Seinfeld when George Costanza was trying to get fired and couldn't lose his job and still going to work every day, and that's me. I'm a Seinfeld episode going on right now in real life.
Well, Long Beach State, I hope you are happy. Dan Monson is now a Seinfeld episode going on in real life. Just because you couldn't wait till the end, the true end of the season, to fire Dan Monson. Now, if Dan Monson had lost in the Big West Conference Tournament, I could see this totally being justifiable. Just because Long Beach State men's basketball did have some expectations. They were chosen to finish second in the Big West Conference, and they did beat the likes of DePaul, who was trash, Michigan, who was broken and eventually fired Jawan Howard, and they also beat USC, which spoiled the return of Bronny James after he went into cardiac arrest. But Long Beach State, I hope you're happy with your decision of basically letting Dan Monson go after the Long Beach State men's basketball tournament run. And yeah, it's still a questionable decision to this day. And you have turned Dan Monson into a Seinfeld episode. I hope you are happy. So because of you turning Dan Monson into a Seinfeld episode, you are Dum Dum of the Week. And this is no knock against my alma mater, but whoever made that decision to just fire Dan Monson and say, "Hey, you're gone after the season," like Dan Monson is getting paid nothing to coach the Long Beach State men's basketball team, and look at what he did. He helped Long Beach State win the Big West Conference tournament, and now he has them in the tournament for the first time in over 10 years. And now the poor dude is basically working for nothing, and he's going to be fired at the end of the season. So, congratulations, Long Beach State. you basically are dumb of the week because whoever made the dumb decision to nix Dan Monson after not realizing that Long Beach State still has the Big West Conference Tournament, you ruined it. So now he's going to find probably another place. And the thing that wouldn't surprise me is if Dan Monson finds a new home and he basically coaches that team to lots of glory and whatnot. But Long Beach State, you're dumb of the week because you fired Dan Monson and now he's getting paid nothing to coach this team, and how he gets paid nothing to go into this NCAA tournament, and it's pretty much for glory now and basically for a whatchamacallit. It's for a coaching audition now. But yeah, I'm sorry to say this, Long Beach State, you're my alma mater, or whoever made the decision to fire Dan Monson, but whoever made that decision at Long Beach State is dumb of the week.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
Could I have chosen a better dumb of the week? Probably, but it's what I got. I was thinking of not having dumb of the week until Larry B gave me that recommendation as well, but we have 2 dum-dums of the week this week. That is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. It is that time to get on out of here, because I haven't even had breakfast yet. Go figure. You dig? Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. Shout out to the chat room, Jen B, Ralph Calise, and Larry B for all tuning in. I really do appreciate y'all. I'm not sure what the SoCal Supreme Sports Show schedule is going to be like next week. I actually have not gotten my schedule from work, but I'll have to wait and see. It's going to be another wait-and-see moment for SoCal. But I promise you all, I'll try my best not to skip too many weeks regarding SoCal. I shouldn't miss any weeks until the NBA starts up. But if you're listening live on IE Sports Radio, next up we have the Carolina Cast with John Felipe coming up in less than 3 minutes. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy the SoCal sports action. Let's go Long Beach State men's basketball. Let's go San Diego State men's basketball. Let's go USC women's basketball. Let's go UCLA women's basketball. Let's go CBU women's basketball. And let's go UC Irvine women's basketball. I will see you all on Monday for Set Point. Have a great week. And remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!